has made some pretty exciting announcements at the show that relate to how AI can be leveraged to create better customer experiences. So with those announcements, we may not have time to cover them all today, but I wanted to touch at least on a few of them. And first one I wanted to talk about was the Ask Athena feature, and allowing anyone in the organization to uncover insights without necessarily being a data scientist, data analyst. So why do you think the time is right for this type of feature? And can you talk a little bit more about maybe some of the possibilities this enables?
The timing is really important because when I first joined Medallia, I reached out and I talked to a lot of different CEOs, and there was some interesting consistency in what I heard from them in terms of what they were focusing on and focusing their business on. In fact, there were three common themes that emerged. The first is many of them told me that they were measuring so much information and leveraging so much data that they were realizing that they really needed to get their companies focused. And so they were going to really look for 3 or 4 key metrics that they thought were having a meaningful impact on the performance of their company. And they were going to try to kind of get rid of the rest of the noise. The second thing that they told me is that they were all going through these consolidation initiatives where they had all of these different systems deployed in their organization, and what it did is it created all these data silos. And so the consolidation wasn't really driven by cost reduction. It was driven by the fact that by not combining that data and correlating it, they really didn't ever get a full picture of their business, but more specifically of their customers' experience. And then the third thing that they all told me is that they were all really, really eager to start to deploy generative AI. And when I asked them, specifically, what problem are you going to solve, there weren't a lot of answers.
Yep.
And so as I took those 3 things in, it became clear to me that, for us, what we're going to really need to help them focus on are what are those key metrics. And, the theme of the message that I delivered to kick off this conference was the difference between information that's interesting and information that's important. Because that's what I'm hearing from the business leaders. We got a lot of interesting information. How do we figure out which of it's actually important in helping us drive growth in the company? When it comes to the consolidation of systems, really for us, that's how do we bring all of this data in? Now, for Medallia, we're not aspiring to try to be a system of record. Sure. We can do that if a customer wants us to be, but really our intention is to be a system of insight and kind of the record of insight. And then where that data gets streamed out to, if it's an enterprise data mart, if it's to a private or public cloud, that's all dependent upon what the preferences of the customer are. And then last, from an AI perspective, to get to your question, we're delivering AI that's solving very specific business issues. So we're looking at use cases that are going to be able to be understood by the customer and deployed in a relatively easy way, because we know change management is just a nightmare for a lot of companies, so that they can actually start to really use the automation and the efficiency gains that AI is intended to do, but more as an assistant to their people versus a replacement. We're going to deliver AI across a broad spectrum because we have very large financial institutions, healthcare companies, and insurance companies that are going to be a little slower to adopt automation just because they're worried about unintended consequences, and there's a lot of governance and framework that they're going to need to think through. But on the other end of the spectrum, I have the biggest technology companies in the world that use our platform, and they're ready to go, and they want headless automation. So we know we've got to cover that full spectrum, and so we're doing it in a very thoughtful way where we can allow people to grow into the technology.